Whoops. Okay, I think we are rocking and rolling. Fabulous. All right, you guys. Welcome to this week's Trailblazer session. We're going to be talking about how I wrote a book in a day with AI. So I'm curious to gauge on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 is like, I am super comfortable with AI. I love it. I'm here for it. I use it every day. And 1 is help. Like I don't understand the tools very well. I feel like I'm falling behind. Like, give me an idea of where you guys are at, maybe in the chat, with how comfortable you feel with these AI tools. Um, I so this whole book writing thing came about with I've been trying to write a book forever. I've had a book, started in my Google Drive, and I typically would only work on my book when I was flying between, conferences or places. I thought it'd be kind of cool to write a book in the sky and only have every word written while I was in an airplane. Um, but my friend Peter Swain, I ended up hiring him and his team to help me ghostwrite this book. And so I went through a process a couple weekends ago where they taught a group of us how to write a book essentially in a weekend. So we took 4 hours on a Friday and then 4 hours on a Monday, and that's when we wrote this book. So this is going to sound a little bit crazy, but I actually ended up writing a couple of books. Okay. But what I want to say is the first the first iteration of what I went through, the book was not, it was maybe a 3 out of 10. Okay. It wasn't very good. I wouldn't really want to publish it. I wouldn't want it to represent me. And I was getting used to the process of actually getting your AI to not only sound like you, but to integrate your stories and to come up with an overarching narrative that ties the whole book together. Um, so I'm curious, have you guys written a book before, or are you considering writing a book? And it's all, I mean, you guys we're all unmuted. We can all chat.
I've thought about it quite a bit. Have a lot of content, but it's not necessarily organized into, yeah, it's just not organized into a outline or those kinds of things.
Okay. What about you, Elsa?
Sort of the same like Doug. I think I keep going saying, oh, this is not enough, but this is too much. This is will be watered down, so there's so many questions on how do you actually want to, or how do I actually want to present this book?
Yeah, cool. Brian, what about you, my friend?
I have content, I have ideas, but nothing formal.
Cool. And when you guys are thinking about writing a book, give me an idea of what's the reason why you want to write a book. And pop it in chat, or I'll say a thing here and then we can open it up. But what I found through this process was the purpose behind the book was really, really important when it came to the direction that I decided to steer the book. So when we think about AI writing a book for us, my initial reaction is, ugh, that is low quality. People are just going to write something and say they did it in a day, and it's going to be just not that good. I don't know about you guys, but that was kind of my attitude of, you know, here's all these people who think they can write a book, and it's just going to be generic. It's not really going to be theirs. And, anyone can literally just go on to ChatGPT and say, write me a book on fish, and have a book. Okay. What I found, though, actually going through this process, and the team that I hired has developed a very unique process for for writing a book, and I can see how there would be different iterations of processes to write a book. But what I found was that AI became the ghostwriter. and it was a tool. It was not necessarily the one making the final call. It wasn't the one that was telling me what was best. I was giving it direction. And I was the one who was really acting as like the executive functioning person who is guiding strategic decisions. And then tactically, it's taking my stories, it's taking my content, it's taking transcriptions and it's turning those into uh, a layout that makes sense. It's turning those into chapters that have, specific outcomes you want the reader to gain. And so we'll walk through a visual here of the breakdown of how I would recommend writing a book with AI. Um, any thoughts, comments before we jump in?
That's what I was thinking of AI was as a tool. There's a whole spectrum, of course. You can get junk, no personality, no real value. But if used like a tool, then yeah, I love that. Comparing it or using it like a ghostwriter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there was about 60 people, I want to say, in this cohort who were writing books, and a lot of them were multiple time authors. Some of them were first time authors. And we just, I think depending on how you position AI in this process, you can either look at it as it's just going to do it for me, or you can look at it and say, I'm the one writing the book, and it's acting as this assistant to clarify and synthesize this overwhelming amount of content that I have that I know I want to turn into a book, but I'm not quite sure how, right? Or it can help me to, depending on the purpose of my book, organize the information in a flow that leads to the outcome that I want. So going back to that question of why, tell me more about what interests you guys about writing a book. Why is that important to you? Or what would the purpose be?
Well, I think to Brian's point and your point about it being a tool, I think so. The purpose for me, let me start there, is basically the statement that you have on that little intro video, right? Success is an inside job.
Yeah.
And for me, through my own journey, there's so many iterations of that realization that it's really important for me to help other business owners to understand that and how powerful it is once you actually really get it. Because one thing is knowing, another thing is doing. And that overarching feeling of that I take back power and control in my own life is incredible, and so that is my why. And I think one of the things that held me back about using AI is that whole authenticity discussion about, is AI really authentically you? But going through that challenge that we were talking about just before taught me that that is my responsibility. It's my responsibility that it is my voice, that it is my intentions that come through, and it's my original content, or my originally putting together the content, because nothing is new from what I do, but how I think about it is new. And that is my responsibility in whatever written communication that I have, to make that clear, that this is how I see the world. It's not how AI see it, or this is not how the concept is written. This is how I see the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Fabulous. I'm like, Doug, you can probably start to see why I think you and Elsa would make a good connection.
She seems like a wonderful person.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. My reason is because, and this is very applicable to so many people, is because of my own journey of going through a bankruptcy, losing relationships with two of my 6 kids for 9 or more years, trying to look like a 10 on Facebook, feeling like a 2.
Mm.
And So I'm a habit breaker neuroscience expert. And so it's my journey with learning how this works and how habits of thinking impact us. And so my focus is I want to strengthen leaders of families. And they're usually entrepreneurs or business owners, even corporate executives, because I've been doing this for 10 years and almost every one of them I talk with are really struggling with what's going on internally. And they're not aware, they don't know how to fix it. And so I want to strengthen families. I feel families are under siege.
Mm,
Yeah.
powerful. Brian, did you want to share any thoughts?
Sure. I think my passion for creating, I guess, is what drives that. And there's a side of me that even though I don't have a lot of years in my career, that I could say formally I've been, doing marketing for a long time. Marketing is still just something that I have a passion about. And so whether you're creating a book, writing a book, or you're creating a product, I mean, it still has to have value to someone. I guess you could create a biography, and you can still use AI to create that content. But I don't know, I guess I just love the marketing side. I love trying to figure out if I can create something on a topic that appeals to people, that can help them with something that they need.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that's kind
fabulous.
of where my passion is coming from.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into some of the more technical aspects here of how to write a book. So, guys, I'll see my screen. All right, so up here, we're gonna pop my book. Let's see. All right. So, there's the part where there's a whole bunch of work that you need to do to set up your book, to be really clear about who am I writing this book to? Like, who is my audience? What is the purpose for me, whether that be from a business context or from a personal context? Um, and what is the purpose of the book for the reader? What are the outcomes that I want the reader to experience? So when you're setting up your book, actually, let's do another. Okay, so there's a couple of things that you have to have outlined first before you can even think about having ChatGPT or Claude or any of these tools write a book for you. So number one is you need to define your target audience. One of the things that you want to understand about them is what are the problems that they face? And problems, I mean that in a nuanced way. So, as a marketer, I help people to get clear on what these problems are that people face. But what I find is that the higher quality, um, like the better you understand people, the easier it is to speak to them. And a lot of the times we overgeneralize what people's problems are when they're actually really nuanced and people feel them. We talk about problems from a headspace, like, oh, you're overwhelmed, or you don't know who to hire, or you don't know how to keep up with AI tools. Well, those things are all true intellectually, but when you can sink those down into like a heart space and say, I am afraid that my business is going to go under because I know I need to adopt AI. I just don't know where to start and I'm completely overwhelmed. Or I can see that there's more contention in my family and I feel so much stress, but I have to keep working, but I know I need to spend time with my kids, but I don't know how to separate those things. There's a different tone in my voice talking about those things. There's different words that I use. And so having a nuanced understanding of how people describe their problems, which Doug knows this because we've worked together, but sometimes what people think their problems are really their symptoms of the underlying problem, right? I'm sure I mean, all of us on this call understand that. So there's symptoms and problems to unpack and understand. Then there's also the desires of our target audience. You know, and this is really a critical thing to understand because, like Brian was saying, we have to understand what people care about from their perspective. And, you know, for me, the book, I'm actually writing two books, but the one that I finished, it's really important to me. And I really want to talk about those, this topic. And just like all three of you mentioned, like there's a topic that you love and you want to talk about and you find it meaningful. And there's probably some purpose-driven reasons, for writing this book. And at the end of the day, people will want to pick up your book and read it because it promises to give them what they want, right? It promises to bring them something that they desire. And so understanding that um, is really key. Then there's another interesting piece of understanding our target audience, which is understanding a common enemy. All right, so this would be, for example, like take the world of AI. So my first book is all about adopting AI and the trailblazer mindset and looking at stories of individuals who have trailblazed paths, who have done things first, who have, had big vision and taken action on that. And what are those common enemies that can stop us or can hold us back or make us feel stuck? And these are things that we can identify for people, but also help them overcome. They're not permanent stuck problems that make it so we can't succeed. They're actually reasons that once we uncover for people, we can help them see beyond those and find solutions. So understanding what those three things are, I found to be very, very helpful in writing the book because what it does is it helps the AI have context and understanding of what this book should really sound like and what this book should be saying. So if you think about AI, um, you know, I I think about AI as if it swallowed the whole internet. Okay, so like if we put these, if we put these, we'll put these lines here. Okay, so I look at ChatGPT and I'm basically like, all right, so you understand, basically all the knowledge that's on the internet, you swallowed that and you can understand that. So when we then take our target audience and we give it clarity on who our target audience is, what we do is we actually narrow that path and we give it context and understanding. So, maybe outside here it's talking about fish and politics, and over here it's talking about how to craft swords and how to raise kids. But that has nothing to do with our target audience. So we want to narrow those things down to help us create an AI that actually does sound like us. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we really want to understand, like, what's our purpose? What's our purpose in writing this book? Okay, now there's typically a business purpose, meaning, I want this to become a lead magnet. I want to be able to give this away and have people learn and understand who I am. Maybe this is, and this was my purpose of the book, is I want to get more podcast and speaking opportunities. So I wrote my book knowing that the principles would be something valuable to a podcaster and their audience. And so I really wanted it to speak to a leader who could then take my framework to their audience and say, if you implement, A, B, and C, this is going to help you get better results in what we're doing together. So I wanted to think of that as like a supplemental way to add value to a leader of others. So there can be many reasons why we're writing a book. There can also be personal reasons, right? Maybe it's a memoir. How do you spell memoir? Memoir? There we go. Memoir. We can have maybe something instructional for our children or for, a hobby or something that we enjoy. But being really clear on like what's the outcome for our business helps the AI to then give you suggestions um, of what the framework or what the overarching narrative should be. It also helps you to simplify because we I think some people don't write books because they are overwhelmed with, well, where do I start? How do I make this be a clear path from A to Z for my audience? So giving your AI instructions on what the purpose is really helpful. Then the last piece of it is what's the outcome for the reader? All right. So, like Elsa, you talked about gaining control back and really success coming from within. You know, how do you then take this swirling problems that someone is steeped in, right? And then clarify those desires that they have to then bring it into okay, here's the outcome for the reader. But it's not just let's say gain control and uh, you know, feel they can make good decisions. It's also, simplifying these things into a framework. I just saw one yesterday that I thought was really fascinating. It was called the 3 alarm uh, system. You set an alarm at 8 a.m., at 5 p.m., and at 8 p.m. And you focus on your health, your wealth, and your relationships. And it was a way to really simplify creating more success in your life in the 3 areas that matter most. And that's like a really memorable way of thinking about it. So it's like you're supposed to set an alarm to get up and exercise. You're supposed to set an alarm to, end your work day and begin your day with your family, and, set an alarm to, put your kids to bed and, be a good spouse, whatever it was. But having something that's memorable and clear, I think this is an important part of thought leadership. And, having a book that establishes you as an authority on a topic it's important to have that simplistic elegance and process for people to follow. All right, thoughts, questions so far with our two. So far, we've got our two main pieces of pre-work before we even write our book. Thoughts or questions? Cool. Yes, Doug, I saw you.
Um, so what I'm, no, I don't think there's any questions. It makes a lot of sense here. Just getting clarity on the purpose. It sounds like you include perhaps frameworks in which people can work so that they can take the steps that you suggest and have a simple process to follow. Is that accurate?
Yes. And if I don't have those steps already clarified, I will use AI to create that. So I am what I have found to be the most helpful, I'll pop this over here. Here's my tips for how I use AI. I just speak to it. I'm very, very conversational. I'll literally do like a voice to text and say, I really want people to understand that affluence is more than just financial wealth. It's a holistic richness in our life, and it's looking at life through the lens of having multiple currencies like time or convenience or relationships. Help me think through a thought leadership framework that could simplify that process, but be powerful enough to help people realize the transformation that I want them to have. And literally just speak something like that to my AI, and it will go back and forth with me. It's like a brainstorming partner. And it's really fast and it's really good. And especially, we'll get into this third step where you start having it analyze and go through your own content. That's a really important part of this whole thing, especially to making it sound like you. Um, so this last part, or not last part, but the next part is to upload knowledge. All right. So this is the only way that it's actually going to understand our voice and our content, our perspective, our take on things. So this is anything from, blog posts, articles we've written, books we've written, transcripts, anything that is original work from ourselves is going to give our AI context as to who we are in our voice. Okay, so we take this even another step further, and we have our, original, I'm just going to call it original voice. Okay, when we plug in our original voice, we narrow it even further, because now we're telling it, okay, you have this broad knowledge on many, many topics. You understand who we're talking to. In here, we also need to pop in, purpose. You understand the direction I'm trying to take things. Now take it in the direction of me, sound like me. And so we're able to just continue to narrow and narrow our chat GPT or our AI tool to having an understanding of us. And this is where we get really good content. And this is where we get stuff where you're blown away and you're like, whoa, uh, how did that seamlessly take my story and integrate it into this overarching framework? Like, it does such an incredible job of doing that. Um, and this is where also our stories are really important. So what I've started doing is I've started making a story bank. And what that looks like for me is for me, speaking is much easier than writing. I will open up I use a tool called Otter AI. I'll just show you here. I'll open up Otter AI, and I have all these notes of, like right here, my early beliefs about success and wealth. I used this as part of the knowledge for my book. Then I spoke for about 13 minutes, and I talked about the turning point, my early career, what I saw behind the scenes with some of the people I was working with that I wanted to include in the book. Um, I set up another one about my personal struggles and breakthroughs. So taking this transcript, I literally just took this transcript, copied this, and plugged that into my chat GPT. And as I'm doing this, I'm also learning the value of cataloging your data. Okay, so when you're writing a book, you're going to have an outline. In fact, this is really the next section here. So
May I interject something
yes,
here
please.
too?
Yes.
Without the knowledge, something that I did was I dropped in all the assessments I'd ever taken,
Mm,
like my human design, my 16 personalities, all those things into that upload knowledge. And now I have a prompt I put in every time and say, please use this voice and style guide.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great way to train it on you. Again, you're just whittling down this context to be as narrow as you as narrow as you can so that it's speaking as you. It's not speaking as the general internet, right? Um, it's a fabulous addition. So let me add, let's see. Personality, strength tests, things like that.
Mhm.
Fabulous. All right. So the next thing you want to have is your book summary. Like, and you'll ask it, like, write a book summary based off of everything we've talked about. Like, it's essentially a kind of an elevator pitch for your book. And after your book summary, you'll want to create a book outline. Okay, this book outline, this is the chapter outline, right? And for me, I also asked it to do sections. So like a 3-part sections or parts. It it made sense for me to have like here's part 1, part 2, and part 3 because then, it's it's just ensuring that you have the right flow that you want for your book. So I had it outline the different sections, the different parts of the book. Then I had it outline the different chapters. And what I realized, which I have not done, but I would like to do for my next book, is take the stories and do a better job of cataloging those stories. So I have, here's story number 1, here's story number 2, here's story number 3. Or maybe instead I call them, here's the frog story, you know. For Doug, here's the French toast story, right? And we can start to catalog our stories and say, here's the Mike and Natalie story. And we can start to catalog those and say, okay, I know those stories. And you know what? In chapter 3, the French toast story would be perfect. And so Doug goes and he records a 5-minute, transcription of the French toast story. Or maybe he already has a LinkedIn article he's written about it. And he takes that and he uploads that into the knowledge and says, all right, I want you to write chapter 3 and include story number 2, the French toast story. And it's going to do it.
So Natalie,
Yeah.
do you do all this within Otter AI or?
So what I do is some of the tools that I use, we'll put this over here. Sort of. I'm going back and forth between different tools. So I will use Otter AI to make transcripts. Transcripts. Okay, there's also a tool on if you have a Mac, you can, there's a setting that you can double tap the control button and it'll start doing a voice to text. Okay, so voice to text you can also use to create transcripts. I then I'll put my stories into Google Sheets. So I track stories with Google Sheets. I've started to create, in fact, I can show you if it would be helpful. I've started to create a database of databases, basically. So I have this, I have an outline. I basically have a spreadsheet that kind of tracks all my different spreadsheets that I use. So I have like my copywriting data set. So I'll put in my, let's see if I can open this. I've tracked other people's content that I'm like, ooh, that really grabbed my attention. Like I'm going to keep track of what I really like and what hooks me. I have a bunch of, not in here. I have a bunch of instructions. Like here's, Natalie prefers clean, purposeful, aspirational language in copywriting, avoiding over-explanation and technical jargon, right? So I'll keep track of kind of like what Elsa said when she refers to, here's my brand voice. I keep track of how I explain my brand voice inside of um, my this spreadsheet. I've also started creating samples of my writing. So I have links to a bunch of different Medium articles that I've written. Um, I wrote an article and I just put it into a Google document. And so now I'm keeping track of these articles, so for example, I've got a story about how I got promoted 3 times in 12 hours. That could be a great, maybe that's a great story for chapter 7. And so I want to take this, article here, copy this article, and make sure that it's a part of the knowledge of that ChatGPT that I am using to write my book. I use ChatGPT, as the ghostwriter. I also use ChatGPT as I don't know what to call it, maybe like an analyst or like a stress test, like editor. Maybe editor is a better word for it. I will also use ChatGPT as a brainstorming buddy, developing frameworks, helping me clarify who is my target audience, helping me clarify what are their desires and who do they see as a common enemy. Maybe I'll brainstorm ways to, I want a 3-step framework. What could this be? I want a simple metaphor for the book. What could that be? And so I will use a separate ChatGPT to brainstorm than I will a chat to actually write the book. Is that helpful and answer your question?
Yes. So another question comes up, and if it's not already created, I'm sure it will, but I'm wondering if there is a AI that's specifically designed for writing books.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Figured there was.
Yes. So I paid for access to one. Um, I could make my own. It would be different than the one I paid for because theirs is built with their own proprietary, way of doing things. Um, you anyone could make one in theory. But I paid for access to one because they had a proven track record of helping people write books and they've fleshed out their process for doing it. But yeah, I mean there's many options for like which one would be the one to use.
No,
So,
I recently, well, there's one called Delphi AI.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I used it, but it didn't have application, so I went to the free version again. But it'll go out to like LinkedIn where I put up 50 something posts, and it will take all that information down and put it into my voice.
yeah.
And then you can use it for all kinds of things, answering questions for people as a bonus if they join your program.
Yeah. So
That,
that's a process called scraping, right? So
okay.
that's an AI that will go, it's called scrape your data. Basically, it's go look at your LinkedIn and everything you've written and pull that out, or it'll look at, say, your website and it will comb through all of your website and then catalog that and use it as part of the knowledge for what it knows about you. Yeah, so definitely, um, this is like an automatic way of uploading knowledge versus, you can manually choose what you want to include with your knowledge. So, um, but essentially, this is the core um, process and elements that you need in order to be prepared to write a book that is really good and that you're going to be excited about and proud of. This work is probably like the maybe 3.5 hours of the 4 hours on day one that I used to write my book. Um, Writing the book, once you've uploaded all of this information and it's inside of that chat GPT, what I did is I literally started saying, okay, write chapter one. Wrote chapter one. I copied that and put it in a Google sheet. Okay, thank you. Write chapter two. Writes chapter two. So the actual book writing part maybe took 30 minutes. And it was only that long because I was the one who was like, hold on, I gotta copy and paste and keep things organized. So writing a book is, to do a great job, you need this first part to be solid, and then the book writing part comes relatively quickly just because of how fast AI is. Elsa, I can highly recommend reading How to Build Your Second Brain, Tiago Forte. It will streamline how you take and store notes. That's super cool. Yeah, the whole idea of tracking our data now is becoming more important. Because like I was showing you here, you can't just log in and say, you know, write like Natalie Champlin. It doesn't know me. And that's where the training comes into place. All right, what questions? What takeaways? Let's do a check-in.
This is awesome. Thank you for this.
Good. What's any ahas? What's been most helpful?
I think for me, it's, like you said, your book was in your head for so many years, right? I think with AI, what that helps me is I have so many little pieces of it. Like a long time ago, I read this very small book from a lady. She has a small publishing company, and she said, start your book writing with writing a dear reader letter. Saying, hey, dear reader, whatever. Again, you could have defined exactly that reader and saying, I'm writing this book because X, Y, and Z, and this is what I hope you take away with it, and this is what I hope you will actually do with it. And I've had this dear reader letter for a long time, but what seemed like the insurmountable mountain of getting to in order to make that a reality is what AI can really, and have this simple process that you put in there is like just reminding me, oh, I should get that dear reader letter out and throw into the mix as well, right? So
yeah. Do you guys want to hop on to ChatGPT and work on one of your books?
Sure. I'm up for it.
Okay, let's do it. Here's what I think we should do. Let me show you how I would do this. So I've built a ChatGPT that I call my AI persona builder. What it does is it builds AI employees for me. So here's what we're going to do. And I can give you guys access to this AI persona builder. I'd like you to build me an AI ghostwriter for my nonfiction book. Okay. So
Is this information you've already put in?
So I've already built this chat GPT called AI Persona Builder.
Oh, okay.
So I've given it instructions on how it's kind of like Inception, an AI that builds AIs.
No.
So, so we'll start by building a ghostwriter that we can use. So act as a nonfiction ghostwriter. You will be witty, resourceful, and a powerful, persuasive communicator. Specialize in writing in the style of the author and the knowledge they upload. Okay. It's walking me through. I have like different steps for how to actually write or how to create a an AI. So the next thing we'll do is our core values. So we value do not use platitudes or cliche communication. Be powerful, direct, and clear. Tell a strong narrative. And, I'll give you guys access to this. You can be as specific as you want to how you want your ghostwriter to sound. Okay, let's go on to the next step. All right, so target audience. So this is the target audience is going to be aspiring authors because I'm actually building a ghostwriter for authors. So aspiring authors who want to be thought leaders and establish business opportunities through their book. Okay, we'll go to our next step. You'll see how this all comes together at the end here. You will offer ghostwriting services only. Next step.
Excuse me, Natalie, can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got to leave for a work project. Can I see real quick, zoom in on the notes that you took on one specific piece that I needed to
On this
capture?
end here?
Yeah, down below internet column is in blue. There's a
Yes.
section in blue.
Oh, this one here, the stories.
Oh, the stories, yeah, just let me see if I
Yeah.
capture. Oh,
And I
yeah,
can
okay.
share this with you guys too. So you've got this whole Canva, Canva screen.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll share that. Are you in the Facebook group?
I don't know if I am.
If you want to join, I
Which
always
one,
put,
Trailblazers?
yeah, AI Trailblazers community.
Okay,
I put everything in there, recordings, resources, all of that in like this AI persona builder. I'll pop in there, but I'll make sure you guys have access to this.
okay. Natalie, thank you so much. Good to meet you,
Yeah.
Elsa and Doug.
You as
Yeah,
well,
and
Brian.
I need to go too, but man, this has been good, Natalie, as
Good.
always.
All right. Well,
I'll reach.
appreciate you guys being on here today. Elsa, you gonna stick on or are you gonna pop off?
Yeah, I'll stick on Doc. I'd like to
Okay.
connect with you and actually you too, Brian. So
Awesome.
I will find
Thanks for
you, Doug.
Okay.
Doug Stoddard, Habit Breaker Coach on LinkedIn.
I'm a
Okay.
breaker expert.
Yeah. I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Okay, great to meet you, Els.
You as well.
Bye,
Thanks.
Doug.
Bye.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, Natalie.
Sounds good. See
All
ya.
right, bye.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's get this, we'll get our, let's get this step. We'll get our ghostwriter built. Okay, so here's our prompt for a ghostwriter. You will act as a nonfiction ghostwriter. Your specialty is crafting compelling nonfiction manuscripts tailored to the author's style and vision. You'll excel at adapting to the knowledge provided by the author and transforming it into a powerful, persuasive narrative. You're witty, resourceful, and a powerful communicator. Your core values: stay true to the author's voice and intent, use impactful, direct language that commands attention, convey complex ideas simply and persuasively, build a compelling story that captivates readers. Our target audience is aspiring authors. They're ambitious professionals, entrepreneurs, and experts who value actionable insights and strategic guidance. We provide ghostwriting services. The author will upload relevant knowledge, including personal stories, industry insights, and proprietary data. So let's, this is like a pretty quick and dirty, AI that we're building here. But let's go ahead and build it and see how it does. We'll do this real quick. Actually, it's over here. Have you built a custom GPT before?
No, I've never.
All right, you're gonna get the crash course on doing it. So you'll click on your profile button, and then you'll click on New GPT. Here we're gonna name it Natalie's. Well, actually, we'll just call it the Trailblazers AI Ghostwriter. Become an author and influence others. I don't know, something like that. This can easily change. So this is where we add the instructions. So I'm going to take those instructions that I crafted with my other AI, pop them into here. A conversation starter is really just those little bubbles that pop up underneath your chat that say, let's get started is the easiest, kind of most simple one. So this knowledge here is where I would upload knowledge I want the ghostwriter to have. It wouldn't be knowledge that the author uploads. This would be if I had a proprietary process for ghostwriting a book. Maybe I actually end up uploading the transcript to this Zoom video and say, hey, I just did a training on how to ghostwrite a book. Like, follow the steps I outline in the transcript. So it's basically as simple as that. And we're going to save this. We're going to copy and view our new ghostwriter. So let's get started. All right. So let's just use you as an example. Okay. I'm Elsa Johnson. Let's see, my audience, we're just going to do like a super high level version here.
Sure.
My audience is, would you say business owners?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs.
Small business owners.
Oh, I forgot I do have a phone call in 1 minute here.
Okay,
Entrepreneurs who want to take back control in their life. Okay, so it's going to start asking you questions. What's the biggest pain point? Do you have a specific framework? What stories do you have or share your journey? What insights should the reader walk away with? So it's going to start to ask you the right questions it needs to write the book. The problem with this is, though, that I've not taught this ghostwriter a process to walk you through. So you are going to have to rely on yourself walking it through a process.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why, I paid for access to one that walks me through a process.
Sure.
So we could simply just update this and provide it a process. But this is how I would recommend getting started with even just this portion of brainstorming these core pieces of, this 1, 2, 3, essentially 4 pieces that need to be well fleshed out before you ask it to start writing a book for you. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. So I don't know if I'm in your Facebook group, but I drop in there and then I can look at the replay in there. So is that a paid Facebook group or is it a free Facebook group?
Yeah, it's just
and I know you have to go.
This one right here. Okay. AI Trailblazers.
Okay.
So I'll pop everything into this group. I'll send you, let me just chat this to you. I'll make sure you and Doug and Brian get access to that and the recording and the Canva, and anyone else who's watching the recording can have access. So
okay, great.
awesome. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for being here today. It was so awesome to see you. And
You as well.
thanks.
I'd love to catch up if you have a minute at some point in time. So,
Yeah, let's do it for sure.
okay.
All right. Take care. See ya.
Bye.